is your emergency contact? Who should be notified in case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. I got a request about a story on some New Mexicos, the dudes from New Mexico. I just want to preface the story so you understand that every yard is different, right? And the yards that I've been on California yard, I've been in Beaumont, which is a Texas yard. At the time I was there was Norteños, TS, MAs, and Aztecas. Then I was in Florence. Florence is Norteños, Texas MA, Mendocita, and a TS. So I say that because the dudes from New Mexico that come through and hit the yard that I bid on, they really have to, in California, they have to fall under the Serranos. They're not Serranos, they still have their own group, being from New Mexico and all that. They politic their own and everything. But at the end of the day, it's a Serrano yard, Southsider yard, and they're on the front line. They got to aid and assist the Serrano. They got to get with the program, right? Being on a Texas yard, when I was in Beaumont and Florence, the New Mexico, they had to run Solano, which means solo, by yourself. They still have their homies and stuff from New Mexico, but they were not allowed to be a car, per se, So, so I got a homie. I consider him a homie. His name is Emenem from New Mexico. He's playing on my poker table. He lived in my unit. He lived in my unit, and me and him got really cool. Like, he was cool. He was a little chubby dude. Maybe a little bit taller than me. And everything I know about the dude, as far as his paperwork is concerned, and the way he conducted himself on the compound and stuff, he was cool. I don't have anything bad or anything to say about him. So, that being said, I'm running a poker table in my block, and we're playing on the table. There's me, Emenem, my homie Leighton from Guam, this white dude named Ronnie. He had the yards for the white boys at the time. This is around 2010, 2009, 2010, and a few others, right? So we're playing cards, and somebody made a move as far as they're betting, raising, or whatever. And he got into a little verbal confrontation with my homeboy Leighton. Now, my homeboy Leighton, you have to understand, he used to be a MMA fighter, mixed martial arts fighter. And he was like that. Like, when he was in Florence with us, he was still getting newspaper from Guam, and the Guam papers were still writing about him. He used to travel to Thailand and different parts of the world and around the country fighting. So when he came to Atwater, me and a few of my homeboys, we picked up the training with him. I didn't get to train with him as extensive as I wanted to, because as soon as I started my training, about 3 months into it, I got picked up and went to the SHU for about 6 months under investigation. You already know I spent a lot of time in the SHU. I probably spend close to 45, 50% of my bid locked down in the SHU. For my first 12 years, I did 6 months in, 6 months out. Then I stayed out for 3 years, from 2012 to 2015. Then I got slammed down for 2 years. When I went to Florence, as soon as I got to Florence, the buses tried to jump on me in the kitchen. I went to the SHU for another 7 months, then came back out. But the last 4 years I was in Florence, I I stayed out of trouble, right? But prior to that, I was doing like half in, half out. So I come out 6 months later. I pick up the training with Layton for a few more months before he got transferred to FCI. So in this particular time while we're playing poker, him and my homeboy Layton, Emenem from New Mexico, they had words. And Eminem's a man. He's a dude, but he doesn't know how to fight. You know, he doesn't know how to fight, but he's not going to back down. And Layton, like I said, he's an MMA fighter. So he's like, man, so shit, I'm trying to holler at you. You know, Layton tells Eminem, I'm trying to holler at you. Well, Eminem can't duck. You know, I mean, he can't say, oh, no, I don't want to fight. Because if he does, his homie's going to see that, and they're going to smash him out, you know. And right now, in our block, he's only got like 2 other homies that are from New Mexico. The rest of them are Paisas and Sereños. And like I said, it's in that water, there's a Sereño yard. So everything falls under them as far as if you're Mexican, right? So Eminem saying, let's go. So whatever. You know, me, I watch. I don't really just jump out there and get in the way of things. But here's Layton. He's my homie. But not just my homie, he's my friend. I like him. You know, he's a good dude. And Eminem, we became cool, and he's my friend. You know? So I watched the confrontation as far as, them verbally getting into it, and then Layton calls him out. And Eminem's like, shit, whatever. You know, Layton thinks he's just going to punk him because, you know, he's an MMA fighter, and he can whoop he can whoop Eminem, like no doubt that he can whoop him. So he's thinking that Eminem's just gonna bow out and be like, oh no, I'm cool, this and that, and start apologizing or whatever, but Eminem doesn't. He's like, nah. I was like, whatever. He's like, let's go then. Let's go to your room. So Eminem hits the stairs and goes to the room. Lane goes and hit the other. You know, I'm watching to see if they're actually gonna do this because like through the course of our time that we've been in that unit, we've all kind of functioned together as far as like, you know, sometimes when I make a bowl or something and Eminem's around, and I'd be like, hey, you want some of this? You know, vice versa. Eminem, when he's doing whatever he's doing, he come through like, hey man, what's up? You trying to get some of this? You know what I mean? So we kicking it, you know? And that includes Layton. Because Eminem being from New Mexico, they don't have a table or a TV in the unit. The Sereños got one, I got one, the Paisas got one, the Crips got one, the Crips and the Bloods got one, the GDs got one, and the DCs got one. So Eminem and a couple of his homies out from New Mexico, when they want to watch TV and stuff, they come and kick it at our table and watch TV with us. So I let the conversation go, and then I see Eminem go up the stairs and go into his cell, and I'm watching Layton. And Layton goes up the stairs, and with Layton is the white dude Ronnie. He's an older dude, but he had the yard for the white boys, and he's a thorough dude. You know what I mean? So I see them two going up there, and I'm not gonna sit there and just watch my homie Layton beat up the homie, my friend Eminem. So I'm like, but I'm, you know, at the same time, I'm hoping, you know, before they get to the cell that they would change their mind because we function with each other. But I guess whatever. So when I see it, I say, fuck. All right. So I hustle up the stairs. I go into the room. I go up the stairs. Lane's outside the room. Eminem's in the room. And Lane's about to go into the cell. So when when Lane grabs the handle to go into the cell, you know, I nudge him off of it. And I open the cell and I walk in first. And when I walk in, I turn around and I face Layton. And I'm like, man, what you doing, homie? Like, oh man, this dude's fucking running. I say, hey man, we function with each other. Like, what the fuck? You know, so let me holler at you. So I pull Layton out of the cell. We go down the hallway a little bit. I'm Layton. Like, it ain't that serious. You know what I mean? We all function with each other. We're all friends. And besides, you're not gonna get no stripes beating up on Eminem. Not that Eminem's a punk or anything, but Eminem don't know how to fight. You know what I mean? But I know because Lane just got to the yard. You know, he just came from, fighting his case or whatever. He's only been in the yard for maybe 7, 8 months. And he doesn't really understand the politics of the penitentiary. Because if Lane beats up Eminem, well, even if it's a one-on-one, his homie might not accept that. You know, they might not come at us to do anything, but as far as Eminem's concerned, they might decide to stab his ass up and send him up top. You know what I mean? And the homie Eminem, he ain't really done nothing. And like I can't remember exactly how the conversation started between them two, but from what I can remember, that Eminem wasn't at fault. And like I said, sometimes when people, know how to fight or whatever, they tend to be a little bit more aggressive when it's unnecessary, right? So I tell Layden, like, hey, homie, I'm not gonna let you go in there and beat dude up. Like, it don't do us no good. Like, you're not gonna get no stripes out of it. And plus, he's cool. He fucks with us. And after a couple minutes of talking to Layden, he saw the light or whatever. So I bring Layden back to the room. We go into the room. I was like, hey, man, we're all a bunch of fucking grown men in here. Figure that shit out. And I left. And they sat in the room and talked for a few minutes. I don't know what their conversation held, but they both came back out. We went back downstairs and continued to play poker. So that's one incident with Eminem. Now, one thing with Eminem, though, he does have a slick mouth on him, but he doesn't start it. When somebody pops slick or he thinks somebody's trying to punk him or slander him or make fun of him or whatever, he's going to talk shit back. That's just the way he is. And he's not going to back down, even though he's just going to sit there and get beat up, right? But, for me, it's not a matter of you know how to fight or not. It's not a matter if you're tough or not. It's how you carry yourself. And all my business dealing that I ever had with Eminem, as far as his debt on the poker table, as far as, doing business or anything else with him, he always been 100. He's always kept it real. And I never had no issue with him. And he doesn't walk around like he's tough or anything like that. So, like I said, me and him was cool, and I liked him. So, I also run a poker table on a yard. And the poker table I have on the yard at this time is all DC dudes, except for maybe 2 or 3 players. Me, Eminem, one of my homeboys, and the rest of the table is filled with DC dudes. And it's, I got a lot of DC dudes that I fuck with, but keeping it real, a lot of them are grimy. You just got to stay on top of it, and they go hard, But so we're playing cards, and they had a dude named man, I forgot his name, but he's real slick with the cards, right? He likes to play low ball, and I've been watching him for a couple months, like, because when we play poker, it's dealer's choice, so the cards get passed around, and you deal what kind of game you want to play. It's not like the casinos or anything. So he always plays this game, and somehow he always, maybe 7 out of 10 times, always wins this game. If anybody knows anything about cards, if you're dealing and you're always dealing yourself a winner, there's something wrong, because that's just not mathematically possible, right? So me and my homeboy Bolo out of I think Washington. He's from OLB, Oriental Lazy Boy, Blood Gang out of Washington. We're trying to watch, seeing what he's doing. Like me, I run the game, so I don't ever try to be slick with the cards. Not that I know how or anything like that, but I get the juice. I get the 10% juice. So there's never any reason for me to ever try to cheat somebody out of a pot or try to cheat in a hand, because when you do that, people notice that, they might not say anything, but they're not going to come back and play with you. So my reputation as far as running the poker table, I always want to make sure it's 100. But what sets me apart from all the other poker tables that's popped up for 2 or 3 weeks, for a month, and didn't last, as opposed to I ran a poker table in Atwater for 7 years straight, is that not only do I make sure that I don't do anything foul, but I make sure that nobody else on the table does, and that people that are playing on my table don't get cheated. That's not to say there's some people that haven't got away with it. There's not to say that there hasn't been some people that's tried. You know what I mean? But for my part, I want to make sure everybody get a fair shake. So we had a hand, and when I'm out there, I got a couple of my homies out there. We're always running security. We all, just you never know what's gonna happen in a penitentiary. So even if I feel like I can just walk the yard by myself, some of the homies not gonna let me. They know if I'm going out to the yard, they're gonna come out and post up. Same thing with Emenem and his people. Everybody does it, right? Because we're in a hostile environment. So when one of the hands goes around, we notice something funny with the dude from DC, right? And Emenem calls him on it. It's like, hey man, how many cards did you take? I said, what? I just took 2. He's like, so why'd you throw 3 out? I said, what the fuck are you saying? He's like, man, I'm asking you why you throw 3 cards out when you only took 2? Because you trying to insinuate something? He goes, nah, I'm just asking a question. He said, fuck you. He said that to Eminem. What you gonna say about that? So Eminem looked at him, said, fuck you too. Right? Now you gotta remember there's a whole table full of DC dudes. And me, I'm gonna stand on the side of right. I didn't see the move, but when Eminem moved the dead cards around, dude only threw 2 cards out, or 3 cards out, but took 2. So the whole time because we're playing whatever 6-card low ball. So you got 6 cards in your hand. When you're holding it, it's easy to grab because he's dealing to have another card behind your hand where people can't see. So when you get a draw, you do 3 draws. When you're discharging, you can throw it into the dead, and it gets hidden in a pile of cards, right? But Eminem saw it. So a DC dude looks at him and he's like, man, what you trying to do? And he's like, man, shit, whatever. Right? So now the whole table gets quiet. And we're just watching each other. Everybody. I'm there. My feet's always planted on the ground. And like I said, I stand on the side of right. When Eminem went through the cards and count them out or whatever, everybody on the table saw what happened, right? So tension is building. And then Big Mo from Larry Moe, not Big Mo, but Larry Moe, he's like one of the big homies from DC. He was out there playing at the time. And he told the DC dude, hey man, chill out. The dude look at, even though Larry Moe is the big homie, not every DC dude wants to, be subject to the little homie status or whatever. But Larry Moe told him, hey man, chill out. So a minute or 2 go by or whatever. He's like, all right, whatever. Let's just continue playing. I know what's going on. Like I said, I didn't catch it. If I caught it, then I would have a leg to stand on to say something. But Eminem caught it, and I have to let Eminem deal with the situation. But if it comes to a funk or whatever, then I can step in. I'm not just going to insert myself in a conversation. So anyway, we squashed the situation. We continue playing cards, and we go back in. Well, while we're playing cards, there's other people standing around the table watching the game or whatever, and a few of them were Southsiders, you know. So I guess what happened after that was the Southsiders went to the New Mexico dudes to complain about um, Eminem, and they brought up the incident with my homeboy Leighton in the block, and then just a week later, the incident on our table with the DC dudes. So, so Eminem comes to me, a couple days later. He's like, "Man, these fucking dudes are politicking on me." I'm like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "So what's up?" He goes, "I don't know. I gotta go out there and fucking holler at my homeboy." I said, "All right." So he goes out there and holler at his homeboy. When he comes back in from the move, he comes to my cell and he's mad. You can see it on his face. He's like, "Man, because my fucking homeboys are a bunch of fucking lames, right?" I said, "What happened?" He goes, "Oh no, the Sureños are pushing up on him for him to DP me." Right? Now, when this happens, when the Sureños push up on these cars, regardless if you're from Denver, because we're on a California yard. So as far as the Mexican go, the Sureños run the yard. Even if the Paisas outnumber them or whatever, at the end of the day, the Sureños run the yard. I don't care if you got cartel members over there or border brothers or pistoleros or whatever. On a California yard, the Southsiders run the yard. And when they push up on a group and tell them, "Hey, you need to either remove your homie or DP him or whatever," and the group doesn't, then everybody's going to crash, because it doesn't do you any good to go to someone and try to lay down the law and they buck on you and you don't do anything. Then no one's ever going to care what the fuck you have to say, right? So when they approach his homie know that if they don't DP him, then the whole car, the New Mexico car, is going to crash with the Sureños. And they're outnumbered 20 to 1 on the California yard. So when homie Emenem come back in, he's like, "Yeah, man, these politics on me and they want my homeboys to DP me." I said, "So what you going to do?" And man, I'm going to have to get DP, right? I laugh, but I'm not making fun of him or anything, because, I understand the situation, right? So I said, "When are they supposed to do it?" Like, they're going to come here in the morning at breakfast, because, he only got a couple of his homies that lives with him in the block, but the two dudes that were assigned to DP him live in another block. So the next morning, when they open the door for breakfast, they come in there. I see the move. I'm watching, because I fuck with Eminem, but I can't involve myself in everything and anything, right? And so they go up into Eminem. During chow, when they do chow, the CO stands outside the unit. So they come in there, and you can hear them tussling, ping, ping, ping. You can hear, when people are fighting, you can hear the banging on the locker and the footsteps and all that stuff. And it goes on for about 5 minutes. After that, his homeboys come out, they leave, they go back out the unit. So I give him a few minutes to clean up or whatever, because, I know he got fucked up. So I run up in there, or I go up in there. After a few minutes, he's in there washing himself off, cleaning himself up. I said, "What's up, man? You alright?" He goes, "Yeah." Like, "Man, bitch motherfuckers." Like, yeah. And he got a big old lump on his head. His lip was busted. But, Eminem is dark. He's like almost black. So, the bruises on his face and stuff wasn't really emphasized. But, like, I'm not taking anything away from dudes from New Mexico, because I know there's yards where they walk There's the New Mexican Syndicate that, get it in and are official, but they're not on the yards that I've been on. And I don't really have any stories about anything that goes on with them, you know. But the dudes that are on the yard that I've been on, like I said, man, if you're on a California yard, it's Sereños and Paisos. And if you're Mexican, if you're not with one of them, when you come on the yard, you're gonna have to ride under one of them umbrellas. That's just the politics of the penitentiary. And there's a lot of homies, a lot of dudes that I've met that were certified gangsters. When they come on the yard, they're homies. They're from out of town. And they're homies like, hey man, we fall under the Sereños, this and that. And they're like, man, fuck that. And when they do that, when they buck, their own homies end up stabbing them, stomping them out. Like I say, I understand, but at the same time, I don't. I'm not gonna stamp that because you're a killer on the street, homie, and you're part of a gang and all that, then I really don't understand how you can fall under somebody else's umbrella. But, to each his own. I'm not here to judge or anything. I'm just giving you my perspective on, things that, how I would accept things or not accept things. But that's my story from the homie from New Mexico, Emenem. Man, if you out there, hope you watch it, subscribe. I say I fuck with you, homie. And I know you didn't like the way it went down, but at the same time, you didn't run off the yard. You didn't punk out. And it's just too bad that the politics was the way the politics is. And much love, brother. Welcome to the USP.